and welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Charmaine, and today we are doing a mid-year check-in kind of video where I'm talking about all of the series that I've completed thus far, and all of the series that I'm hoping to complete before the end of 2024. So I actually have quite a few series that I have to complete with a lot of books in them before the end of 2024. So I'm hoping that it's going to work out. But first off, to start with, the first series that I started this year was The School of Good and Evil by, I think it's Soman Chinani. It's this book here. I have read two of these. So I've read the first one, which is The School of Good and Evil. I have notes. I made notes, you guys. Look at your girl go. I'm just saying. And the second one, which was A World Without Princes. So I have to read The Last Ever After, Quest for Glory, A Crystal of Time, and One True King. So I have 4 books left in this series. I have read this. I did like 1 physical copy and then I did 1 audio copy. I also am super in love with this movie. If you get a chance to watch this movie, Netflix Canada has it. I'm not sure if other Netflixes have it, but it's such a good show. I love this show. This is essentially, there's 2 girls in a small town and it's like set in the olden age kind of thing. And there's a school of good magic and a school of bad magic, and it's Agatha and Sophie, and Sophie wants to go to the school for good, and she ends up getting taken by the monster in the middle of the night, and Agatha's her best friend, and she's like, I can't lose Sophie. So she ends up like going along for the ride, and Sophie ends up going to the school of evil, and Agatha ends up going to the school of good. And then Sophie spends the entire time trying to figure out or explain to like the castle that she should be on the good side and trying to get over into the good side. It is so good. It's such a good series. I think it's like YA. It might be middle grade really. But honestly, I think it's YA because like they're in high school. So it's super good. It's kind of like a retelling on a whole bunch of fantasies, like Captain Hook's son is there, King Arthur's son is there, Cinderella's daughter is there, that kind of thing. So it's like the good and evil battling each other between the schools. Super good reads, really, really easy to read. Highly recommend the audiobook because the audio actress is amazing. Another series that I started this year, which that one I started A School of Good and Evil in January. I also started this one in January, and this is Finley Donovan is Killing It by Ellie Cosmano. It's this one here. So I actually have Finley Donovan Knocks Them Dead and Finley Donovan Jumps the Gun. I think it's Jumps the Gun is number 2. I'm not sure. Nope, Knocks Them Dead is number 2. Okay, so I have read this one so far. What this is Finley is a woman who's, I don't know, she's like in her 30s, her 40s, 30s, I think. And her husband decide to separate, and it's her journey of how she's going to figure out what she's going to do with her life now that she's not with him. And she has kids, and she has like kind of a nanny slash housekeeper who helps her, and she accidentally becomes a hit woman because she's an author and she's at lunch with her, I don't know, author producer, I don't know what they're called, the person who helps you make it into a book, that person, and somebody overhears her thinking that she's saying like she's setting up a husband for a hit, and then it's like the foibles of how this ends up happening along and how she ends up like actually becoming kind of like a hit lady. It's super funny, super good idea, super good premise. I really enjoyed it. I actually laughed through quite a lot of the book. I gave it a 5 stars, I believe. So I'm excited to read the rest of them. So there is now 5 of them. I don't know for sure if the last one's out yet, but so we have Knocks Them Dead is the second one, and then Jumps the Gun is the third one. Then there's Roll the Dice. That's where I think she goes to Vegas in that one. And then there's another one called Digs Her Own Grave. So Digs Her Own Grave I didn't even know about. So I do have 4 books out of that to finish as well. Like, I'm not 100% sure if I'll finish all of these this year, but it is something that I'm like kind of aiming towards. Then I have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. I read the first one as a buddy read with my friend Karen. We both found it to be a little bit slow, but our timing with reading with each other was a little bit off. Like, I started it really early, and then she caught up to me, and then she passed me, and I didn't end up reading it until the end. So I think it was like the buddy readness of it that made it maybe slow for me, because I like fantasy. Like, it's a fantasy book where essentially there's two people, almost like during World War I kind of thing, where they have typewriters, and their typewriters are magic, and they write letters back and forth to each other, not really realizing that they actually work together at a newspaper because they're journalists as well. And then they go to the front line, and it's kind of like how that all comes together and how they find out about each other and stuff like that. So I did read Divine Rivals in, I believe, February, and now I want to read Ruthless Vows to like complete the duology, because it's 2 of them. And I do want to see what happens, because like I have been thinking a lot about Divine Rivals and about how maybe like I didn't give it a chance just because of the timing of it. Like, I think I read it like disjointedly, I guess I would say, because I read it really fast at the beginning, and then I paused, and then I read it a little bit, and then I paused, and then I was like way late on finishing it. So I think if I might actually even have to do a reread on the first one and then read the second one to see if it's good. But I do think I'm gonna like it because I love those fantasy books. Another one that I started that I don't think I'm gonna get through this year. Like, I'm gonna be real honest about this, you guys, but it's actually the Zodiac Academy. So I have books 2 and 3 here. I have read the first 3. So I am on book number 4. So the first one is called The Awakening. I don't have it sitting here with me, so I can't show it to you guys. And then we have Ruthless Fae. Look at how big it is. And I tabbed it. And then we have The Reckoning, which is number 3. I also tabbed that. So these are like 700 pages each. Like, holding this up hurts my wrist. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. But I mean, they are genuinely giant books, okay? And they are about Tori and Darcy, who are twins, who are Gemini twins, and they were born technically as Fae, and then they were brought into the human world for protection. And it's how they find out when they're older teenagers. Like, I think that they're out of high school in the human world. But they find out that they're actually Fae, and then they're taken back to the world of Solaris, where they end up going to the Zodiac Academy so that they can learn how to use their magic, and they're like become fairies and do all of that kind of stuff. So they're going through learning how to do this while they have major rivals, because there's 4 boys whose parents run like the council now, because technically the sisters are daughters of the king and queen of the actual Solaria. And then the boys are now, like, their parents are running the council instead of having a king and queen. So there's 4 boys who are essentially in a battle against Tori and Darcy, and Tori and Darcy are like, dude, we're just here for the money and to hang out. We just want to like learn how to use our magic and be chill. And the boys are like, no, you can't do this. It's such a good series. It is so good. There's magic, there's romance, there's like, and technically it's a bully romance, which I actually learned after I had read like 3 of them. And then I was like, oh, turns out that I do like romance books, but I just have to have a lot of fantasy with it, because I'm not super a fan of romance. But I actually really like fantasy books, and if there's romance in it, then that's cool as well. So, again, I have read The Awakening, which is number 1, Ruthless Fae, which is number 2, that's this one here. And like, they're big, they're giant, like they're 700 pages each. I have read The Reckoning, which is number 3, and I'm about halfway through Shadow Princess, which is number 4. So then I have Cursed Fates, number 5, Fated Throne, number 6, Heartless Sky, number 7, Sorrow and Starlight, number 8, and Restless Stars, which is number 9. I own 5, 6, 7, and 9. I bought 9 because it was on sale, but they're about like $45 each. There is a tiny little fly like flying right in front of my face. So if I keep doing this, that's why. But yeah, they're about $45 each. Like, they're actually quite expensive. And I think maybe they're independently published. I'm not 100% sure on that, but some of the paper in them feels different than like other books' paper that I've felt. So I don't know if that's actually true or not. I'm not 100% sure, but I also have not seen them in the bookstores. So I don't know. I got mine off of Amazon. But yeah, so I'm working on reading that as well. And so far I have given all of their books 5 stars. I am loving them. I did not read a whole bunch of the 4th one, which is Shadow Princess again, in July. I did end up reading 10 books in July, but I only read maybe like 100 pages out of it because I ended up doing Summerween, so I ended up like switching up my like reading for the month. Another series that I started, which I really want to finish, but I'm waiting for the third one to come out, and that is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. Belladonna is, it might be like maybe not my top book of the year, but it might be like my second book of the year. It was so good. It's essentially about, there's a party in like the 20s and everybody there dies, and it's about how death kind of falls in love with the baby and then follows like the baby's life, because like she's been touched by death, but she didn't technically die. So she kind of has like some of death's powers, and it's about how she goes through finding out that somebody in her family has been poisoned and she's trying to like solve a mystery kind of thing. It is very actually romantic and also like not really creepy. It's kind of a mystery with romance. It is so good. The writing on it is beautiful. I cannot wait to read Foxglove. That's number 2. But I'm actually waiting for Wisteria, which is number 3, to come out, because I want to read number 2 and number 3 together. Belladonna is like the book that I remember the most out of the entire year that I've read, because I genuinely keep coming back to it and thinking about it. I also want to read the series by Adeline Grace, which is Fable and Namesake. And then I think there's another one that just came out with that one as well. Because it's like 2 ladies together, like I can see it, but I can't show you guys because it's on the floor. But like their faces come together to make like one face out of the 2 books. And then there's like a man on the third one. But yeah, so apparently there's another series there. But so I want to read Foxglove and Wisteria. That one I'm actually, I think Wisteria comes out, it comes out this year. Maybe in August? It might be in August. If I remember, I'll write it on the screen so you guys can see it. I'm going to pop in some pictures as well in here, so hopefully I'll be able to show you guys. Then the last series that I started this year that I want to finish, which I'm actually almost done, I'm halfway through, so this one I might actually be able to get through, is The Uglies by Scott Westerfield. Put my hand here so I know I'm showing a photo. I read The Uglies and Pretties so far, and the last 2 left to read are specials and extras. So originally it was a trilogy. It was The Pretties, or The Uglies, The Pretties, and The Specials, and then the extra is like a bonus book that goes with it. So I'm really excited to read them. I read the entire series of this, I want to say like 10 years ago, but I'm not even sure if it was out 10 years ago. But I think that it was. It's kind of like a dystopian story where essentially everybody is normal until they turn 18, and then they go through a whole bunch of surgeries to be like made to look kind of essentially like Barbies. Like they all kind of look the same, like they all have kind of like the same, like they have pretty eyes, they have pretty nose, they have pretty mouth, and then they call it like pretty brain because like they're given vitamins and stuff that kind of make them like not care about anything that's important. You know, it just makes them like feel good and happy all the time. And that's how the world kind of works, is like they get pretty brained and they turn into pretties. And it's essentially how one person decides that she doesn't want to be a pretty, she leaves, and then she goes on an adventure, and then she comes back and she becomes a pretty, and then she's like, no wait, I actually don't want to be a pretty. And she's kind of trying to take down like the organization, I guess, that would have set it up to make people pretty. So it's kind of about that. It's dystopian and awesome. So yeah, so those are the books that those are the series that I want to try and read for the rest of the year, which is actually quite a lot of books. Like that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 books by themselves, just because they're in the series that I want to read for the end of the year. As I'm reading about like 3 to 5 books a month, I might not make it because it's August, but I might, like, we don't know. The series that I have finished so far this year are, I did finish the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I told you guys, I talked about this a lot. I love this series so much. It's essentially Criminal Minds episodes with teenagers. One of them is really kind of like Spencer Reid, like has like good recall, good with math, a little bit autistic maybe, like sticks to the facts, that kind of thing. Another one can read moods because, like, you know, if somebody's lying, the attitude, what's going to happen, that kind of thing. So it's essentially that. And then the main character is really good at, it's not like picking up lies, but she's really good at figuring stuff out because she can tell like, she's good at grifting. I don't know how else to explain it. But her mom was like a reader. Like, she could read, like, people, and then she could, like, tell them information back and then get money from them. Does that make sense? You know what I'm trying to say? So she's like that. So then she joins the Naturals, and then she becomes like one of these teenagers who's trying to solve murder cases. And they are so good. 10 out of 10 would recommend. 5 stars on all of them. There's 4 books. They're amazing. I also finished Between Ink and Shadows by Melissa Wright. That was a pretty easy one. It was a fantasy book. I read them in January, and I did audio, and I don't really remember a whole lot of them. A whole lot about it, I mean. And I think I gave them like 3 stars. But I did read all 3 of them. They were fantasy books, and that's about as much as I remember. Bad memory, you guys. And then the other series that I finished was One of Us is Lying, which we actually finished together as a book club. So One of Us is Lying is essentially Breakfast Club meets murder. Like, that's exactly what it is. They're in the library and somebody dies. Like, and then it's like how they solve that murder, and then their second book is it happens to one of their sisters, and it's like a new group kind of thing. And then in the third book, it's one of them is back. It's called One of Us is Lying is the first one, and then it's called One of Us is Lying, One of Us is Next, and then One of Us is Back. So then somebody comes back from their past in the third one, and then it kind of wraps up the trilogy. Honestly, if she made more of them, I would read them. I'm just putting that out there because I really, really, really like those books. I definitely 5 stars all the way. So yeah, that's what I've read for series. That's what I'm working on for series, and that is how it's going so far for series. I tell you guys all the time, I'm like, I love series. That's where it's at. I'm like a series girly. I want to read all of the series. Give me all of the series. But I actually haven't read that many series this year. So I'm going to try and get through some of these, like, especially because, like, these Finlay Donovan ones are hilarious. Like, they're so funny. They're so easy to read. So I'm going to try and work on that a little bit more as well. July, I did end up reading 10 books, so I did pretty good there, that's for sure. Okay, so let me know, have you read any of these series? Do you like series? Are you like a standalone girly, or standalone person? Doesn't have to be a girly. Like, are you more of a standalone person? Do you like series? Do you like fantasy books? Like, what kind of genres are you into? Tell me all of that good stuff. Have you read any of these books? Let me know about that as well. I'm really entering a middle grade era right now where I'm wanting to read like all of the middle grade books. They're so fun and light and fast. It's amazing. I love them. And they're like happy. I love that as well. I don't know. And that's it. Please like this video and check out my description box for other content creators. Let me know how your day is going and all of that good stuff. And thank you guys so much for spending a couple minutes of your day with me today. I really, really appreciate that. And I really, really appreciate you. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!